Hello everyone, I am Prithviraj. So welcome to my session. So in this session, we'll be discussing about the quadrant system. So before we begin, so let's know what are the topics we'll be learning in this session. So we'll be going through the introduction, reference planes, views, quadrants, 3D methods, and 2D methods. So these are the topics we'll be covering in this session. So then we have the introduction. So what exactly is quadrant system? So imagine you have standing in the right hand center of the big piece of a paper, and there are like four lines dividing the paper into four equal parts. These lines form a big plus sign in the middle of a paper, and of these parts is called as a quadrant. So you can see you have a big plus sign here and a man is standing in the middle of a plus, and there are like four equally divided parts. So these four equally divided parts can be called as a quadrants. Then we have reference planes. So in reference planes, we have three types. We have the horizontal plane, that is HP, the vertical plane, that is VP. Then we have the side of the profile plane, that is called as PP. So horizontal plane is parallel to the ground and vertical plane is perpendicular to it, and the side plane shows the object profiles in 3D space. So even the side profile planes are divided into two types. Those are like left profile and right profile planes, which you can consider. Then we have the view. So view is basically the side from which we are looking the object or observing an object from. So even if we have three types here, we have the front view, we have the top view, then we have the side view. So the front view is projected from the VP, then the top view is projected from the HP, then the side view is projected on the PP. So then we have the quadrants. So what is a quadrant? A quadrant is a region defined by two axes, that is x and y axis of the coordinate system. So when the two axes, x axis and y axis, intersect each other at 90 degrees, the four regions are formed are called as the quadrants. So here we have the quadrants here. So this is the first quadrant. So y and x can be called as the first quadrant. So the region between the y and x dash is called the second quadrant, and x dash and y dash is called the third quadrant. Then the region between the y dash to x can be considered as the fourth quadrant. So these are the sign conventions in quadrants which you can see. So for the first quadrant, we have the positive x coordinate with the positive y coordinate. Then with the second quadrant, we have negative x coordinate with the positive x coordinate. And the third quadrant, we have the negative x coordinate with the negative y coordinate. The fourth quadrant, we have the positive x coordinate with the negative y coordinate. So we have an image beside it, so which you can see the first quadrant has a plus plus, with the second quadrant minus plus, and so on. Now let's understand the three-dimensional view, how an object will be placed in each of the quadrants. So if we have the first quadrant, so first quadrant, that is positive x and positive y. So the horizontal projection, the projection of the point in the 3D plane on the xy plane is the first quadrant. The positive x-axis points to the right and the positive y-axis points downward. So the vertical projection, the projection of the point is a 3D scene onto the xz plane in the first quadrant. The positive x-axis point to the right and the positive z-axis points outward from the viewer. So now let's understand the represent of an object in the first quadrant in a three-dimensional plane. So as you can see, we have our object here. So as you can see from the VP, that is the front view, you can see only a square form of this object. So similarly from the side view, this is the left profile plane, and here we have the right profile plane here. This is the right profile plane. And similarly now if you see it from the top view, so this is the top view, that is the HP. So you can see in a rectangular format. So this is how an object will be represented in a three-dimensional form. So here we are representing this object in a three-dimensional plane. So you can see the line separating this VP and HP is X, and here we have the Y here. So yeah, this is how an object looks in a first quadrant when it is placed in a three-dimensional plane. So the top, this is a front view, and this is our top view, and this is our side view of an object, and this is also the side view of object. So this is about the first quadrant. So then we have the second quadrant, that is the negative x and the positive y. So that is a HV high horizontal projection. the projection of the point in the 3D scene onto the xy plane in the second quadrant, the negative x-axis points to the left and the positive y-axis points upward. So the vertical projection, the projection of the point in the 3D scene onto the YZ plane in the second quadrant. The positive y-axis points upward and the positive z-axis points outward from the viewer. So then we have the third quadrant, that is the negative x and the negative y. So the horizontal projection in this, the projection of the point in 3D scene onto the xy plane in the third quadrant. So the negative x-axis point to the left and the negative y-axis point downwards. So VP, that is the vertical projection, the projection of the points in the 3D scenes onto the exact plane in the third quadrant. Then the negative x-axis point to the left and the positive z-axis point outward from the viewer. Then similarly, we have for the fourth quadrant, that is positive x and the negative y. So the horizontal projection, the projection of the point in the 3D scene onto the xy plane in the first quadrant, the positive x-axis points to the right and the negative x-axis points downwards. So the vertical projection, the projection of the point in the 3D scene onto the YZ plane in the fourth quadrant, the negative y-axis point downward and the positive z-axis point outward from the viewer. So now let's understand how does an object look when it is placed in a three-dimensional plane. So we have all the four quadrants here. So this is the first quadrant where we have placed an object here. So you can see from the front view, when you see it from the front view, you can see only one face of it, that is the triangular face. So if you see it from the top view, so you can see that you have the four triangles here, so which form a pyramid. So this is the front view and this is the side view, and this is the right profile plane, that is also the side view. Then this is the top view. So this is placed in the first quadrant. So this thing is a VP and this thing is a HP here. So similarly in the second quadrant, this one is the HP and this is the VP, and similarly for the third and fourth quadrant it goes on. So now let's understand the two-dimensional view. So here we have the four quadrants. So in order to represent the same plane in the two-dimensional plane, we'll be needing at least two quadrants. So what we'll be doing is we'll be converting the four quadrants to the two quadrants here. And we have the VP and HP here, as you can see here. So here we have the VP and HP represented. So you can see that we have a rectangular box. So this rectangular box in the horizontal plane, that is the top view. So this rectangular can be seen in a spherical form in the top view, that is which is located in the horizontal plane, and the front view which is in the vertical plane, you can see it a proper rectangular thing. So this is the representation of a cuboid in a two-dimensional plane. So that's it guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video.